Well, hello everybody. Welcome back to G Bear's Off-Grid Ways, a homestead in the desert. Oh well, it's June 29th. One more day to go this month. 2020. What we're looking at here, this is the metal base that comes with the Harbor Freight 10 by 12 garden house. Okay, it's 5 inches tall, and it's kind of a channel steel, and it comes in pieces. So it is 10 foot by 12 foot. Okay, the 10 foot is the wide part. And so each one of those is 5 foot. Each one of these is 6 foot. And pretty easy to assemble. It comes with bags of bolts and that stuff. And you get these little combination plates there that they slide inside of the channels, and the holes align, and you just put the bolts through and tighten them up. To speed things up a little bit, I used a socket set on my portable screw gun, my cordless screw gun, and I put them all in hand tight and then socked them down with the screw gun. Now, this is where I'm planning on putting this. In the instructions it says, don't place the doors towards the prevailing wind's direction. So my doors are going to be on that side, because the prevailing wind right now where I'm standing is blowing right at my back. Okay, so that's pretty close to prevailing wind, but most of the time it's coming from that direction right there. So this will actually block a lot of the wind. And yeah, look at my jungle in there. It's green as can be. Green vegetables out in the desert. Tomatoes are ripening already. Starting to get those, and potatoes are almost ready to harvest. A lot of stuff. Now all of these little pots here, they all have citrus trees in them that I got from Aurora and Chris. And those are going to end up inside of here so that I can try to keep them alive through the winter. And I've already been working on plans on my way of heating this greenhouse, and it's going to be free heat. I'm going to combine a water wall with a couple of solar water heaters, and have the water running on a solar pump that's going to pump it through the solar water heaters during the day and replace all of the water in the water wall, the barrels for the water wall, with hot water during the day. And then at night, the residual heat that comes off those barrels should keep the inside of the greenhouse above freezing temperatures. So I'll be able to keep my plants growing in here even through the winter time. All right, let's get back to this frame. So it's pretty cool. I had a couple of questions on how I'm going to anchor this thing for the wind and all of that. All right, I was planning on putting in a concrete foundation like I did for the cabin and bolting this thing down to it. Well, guess what? Those guys already thought of that. The reason they make this channel 5 inches like this is because what they want you to do is to dig down and plant this in the ground, and then fill both sides of it with gravel all the way up to within an inch of the top of this thing on the inside. But on the outside, you can do the same thing so water doesn't run into it, but just an inch below. So you're going to have 4 inches in there. And that's going to take 40 cubic feet, because 120 square feet works out to be in 40 cubic feet. So they want you to put 40 square feet of gravel in the inside for a floor. All right, well, here's my plan. Because I have tunneling critters out here that will go down under this and try to come back up, just like I did at my garden house, the floor of the garden house is made of the same aviary wire that's on these walls. Those are only little 1/2 inch openings. so the critters can't come up from underneath. So what I'm going to do is the same thing on this. I'm going to put that wire down underneath it. But they want you, according to the instructions, they want you to dig out this whole area and make it sunk down and then refill it with gravel. No, I'm not going to do that. So I laid this out so I have it where I want it. And I'm going to trace around this thing all the way around. And then I'm only going to dig out a shovel's width, which is about 8 inches, all the way around the edge. So I can drop this thing in and level it. Get it perfectly leveled where it's down below the surface. Now, that means my center is almost already filled completely. It just needs a little bit more to level everything out. And I'll show you a tool I just made that I'm going to help for leveling that out. But right now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to buy some more aviary wire. And they no longer sell it in the 6-foot rolls. That's special order stuff and too expensive. They sell it in 4-foot rolls. I can get along with that because this is 10 foot wide. So 4 foot, 4 foot, 4 foot is 12 foot wide. That's a little extra. So I'll have overlap in the center and that'll be great. I'll put the first strap roll down this way, second roll down that way, third roll down that way. So I need to buy one roll of 100 foot by 4 foot, and that's about $99 plus tax. So, and of course I get my military discount there also. So I'll take another 10% off. But I'm gonna get this thing leveled and set down into the trench that I dig around the edge. And then I'll put my wire in, and I'm going to put my wire in and then bend it down so it goes into that lower channel of the metal frame. And then I'm going to mix some concrete with my rapid rod mixer in a bucket. And I'm going to pour a concrete base into the channel all the way around in that groove, that channel that I built for this thing to drop down into. That's going to give me a solid lockdown so that they can't come up and push the wire up and still tunnel in. All the way around it's going to be locked down. And then I'll backfill that with some more desert soil, not gravel, just desert soil. And put a little bit over the top of the wire so that I'm not walking directly on the wire. And then I'll have this thing anchored. Now the wall pieces for this come with these little clips that hook up under this channel right here, this little lip. And then they bolt into the studs that go up for the walls. So the house can't blow off of it. Now my gable here is going to go, the walls will go up this way, and then my gable will go this way and back down that way. So the main winds are going to blow off of the gable instead of into the square side of it. And the reason I decided to put the doors on this side besides being out of the wind, because right now I just stepped over and I'm out of the wind. I took 6-foot distance from here to my existing garden house. Okay, so I got a 6-foot space in here. So what I'm thinking of doing is after I get this thing up, my doors are going to be right here. And I'll put a framed wall on that side, a framed wall on this side, put my wire mesh down on the floor so the critters can't come up from underneath, and then wire the side and wire that side, and take that opening right there and that opening right there, and use that as a siding so I could be in that greenhouse, come through here, come into this little breezeway right here, and then slide the doors open and go into the greenhouse. So I got double protection so I don't have critters trying to squeeze behind the sliding doors of the unit. So that's my modification plan on this. And then this little area right here, on both sides, this side and this side, where I have the walls going up, I can put some more plants in here. Cool. More space, more plants. And that's going to enlarge that part of the garden house a little bit, so I have a little bit more space to walk through here. I like that idea. That was my plan. All right, so I'm going to give you a few tips for those of you thinking about buying one of these garden houses. Okay, the boxes come like this. They are unmarked. They don't tell you what's in each box. All right. One box was right in between there. It's a 6x6 box by 6 foot long. That one is gone because that's what these come in. So if you do buy one of these, so you don't have to cut open all your boxes at once and have stuff blowing all over the place. Remember, the smallest box that's of the three that are inside of the one big container box is the one that contains the bottom base channels. Now, you're going to need to get the nuts and bolts out that hold these things together at all of the unions. And they have these little corner brackets that go in the corners too. I didn't tell you about that, but they're pretty much just like the flat brackets. They're just corner brackets for the corners. You can't mix them up. It's just very simple. It's just common sense. So anyway, I just took a wild guess because I've been in this a while and it just made sense to me. This box is probably all the poly panels that go in the sidings of this, okay? Because that's the right size for it. They have these poly panels in different sizes. So this box is going to have all of the metal braces and that stuff in it. And I figured that they're not going to put the screws in that and the nuts and bolts in that one to damage the poly panels. So they're going to put them in this one. So how did I know which end to open? Well, simple. I picked this thing up when I was putting it here, and I noticed that this side was heavier than that side. So I had to kind of like grab it a little off center to keep it balanced as I was putting it in here. So I decided, well, let's try this. So I cut this side open, pulled the flaps down, cut the two inner flaps out, and sure enough, there was the bags with all of the bolts, the special tools that they give you with this thing, and all of that were all right in this edge of the box. So good tip for you guys. If you buy one of these, you don't have to tear everything open going, where are those things? Go for the heaviest side of the second biggest box, the middle size box, and you'll find all of the stuff you need in there. All right. So I just wanted to cover all of that, and I had to move that whole rock pile, which used to be right here, right about where the center of those two are put together. I had to move that rock pile over today, and then I raked the area, and I got all of the dried brush and that stuff out of the area. So there's a pile over there, and there's a pile over there. And I'm ready to start construction. So this is going to be part one of the construction. Now, as I'm going up with this, I'm going to do different parts of how to put it together. And I've looked online, and there's not really any that show you how to put it together. There's just guys that show it put together and then tell you the problems they ran into. Now, the instruction book is a pretty explicit book, but you really have to take it one step at a time. Read the whole book first, but then go one step at a time and assemble that, follow the instructions, keep the book handy, keep going back and looking at it, know which parts you're going to use and so forth and so on, and put that together and then move to the next step. And that's what I'm going to be doing. So I'll try to also use my tripod and show you that. Okay, another thing I did, mistake. When I was moving out here, I was selling tools off and I sold my bull float. I don't have a bull float anymore for doing concrete slabs and that kind of stuff. But you can also use these things for when you're doing gravel and you want to level the gravel off. So I made one. I had this piece of 3/8 thick aluminum plate just in my scrap metal pile. And that bracket down there that's bolted on with three screws, that's part of a garage door bracket that goes on the garage door, and then the garage door opener uses that metal rod to hook to it, and then that goes onto the garage door opener. So I made it. I found a piece of pipe, laying in the desert that I saved, and it worked out. So I used that. I flattened out the end so it fits over that piece so it won't swivel on me. And I drilled a hole through to hold the, put a bolt on there with a wing nuts to hold that. And that's adjustable down there, so I can adjust the angle of the bull float. Now these handles come from my original cement finishing tool. I have 2 of them left. And I was like, well, why would I sell those other tools and keep the handles? But I'm glad I did. So there's a hole in here because these things use those little spring buttons to lock together. Well, the pipe that's inside of here is probably about this long, goes all the way up to about here. So what I did was I used a self-drilling screw with the rubber washer on it, and I put a metal washer under that, and I drilled that into the inside pipe, and then I put 4 separate holes in the pipe at different intervals so I can make it as long as I need to make it. All right, that's all I have for today. I'm going to head inside. The winds are picking back up again. I don't know. It was pretty chilly this morning. Yesterday, winds were 32 miles an hour. I didn't get anything done. Just stayed out of the wind and the dust blowing, and I mean clouds of dust blowing through here. Just really ridiculous. So I just hunkered down for the day. Went up, visited my neighbors, fixed their air conditioning cord that was cut by one of their old tenants, and got that air conditioner back up running. You know, things like that. Just trying to keep busy. So as I do the different phases of the greenhouse, I will record those, and I'll show you as much of the build as possible. Like I said, because you got to move around a lot. I'll put the tripod and I'll show you how I do a certain section of it, and all of the other sides and the sections are going to be the same. So at least you'll be able to see how it's done, and save you some trouble if you do buy one yourself. Trust me, if you don't have any mechanical abilities and know how things work, don't try assembling one of these by yourself. There's a lot to it. I mean, there's hundreds and hundreds of little screws and parts that go together. And the instructions are explicit, but you have to have some mechanical background to know exactly what's going on. All right, everybody, G-Bear saying thank you for joining me today. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. It's free. It really doesn't cost anything. About the biggest thing that's going to cost you is a little time to reach your finger out and click on the subscribe button. And when the little bell icon that says notifications comes up, click on that. 2 finger clicks. That's all it's going to cost you. All right, I'm going to leave you with this thought. You're looking at my hands. Yeah, those are working man hands. But in my younger days, I was a boxer. Yeah, those are working man's hands, and I was a boxer. Good 3 years I was a boxer. But I stuck to it, and I learned the job really well, and they promoted me to the shipping desk. Oh, all right. Left you with a laugh. G-Bear signing off.